Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our morning seminar on disruptive innovation. My name is Esa Nettamo, and I will be your host today. And with me today, we have three fantastic panelist guests, whom I'll introduce you a bit later. But before we go there, I'm going to do a short presentation on radical innovation and why is it relevant in the world that we are living today. So let's start by going through that few screens on our slides on what is radical innovation. Good. Are the controls, by the way, today? Okay. How does it look in there? Can you show the screen? Okay. Okay, thanks. Okay, good. Sorry about the hassle. Yeah, so radical innovation. So what does it mean in the sphere of innovation? If you look at the world from two different lenses, one being the time, which is the horizontal axis here, and then another one being the change. The vertical axis here. And if you start looking at your organization or your company's history, you quite often see that there is this quite linear path which your company is walking towards the future. And this is what we call incremental innovation. And this you launch like new services like version like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and you are incrementally improving your existing service or product or business as a whole. And this is quite common, and it's also quite functioning model of innovation, especially for the market leaders. This is something that it's working quite well. You are constantly improving your existing product just to keep ahead of the competition, and so there's nothing wrong with incremental innovation. But every once in a while, there in the industry, there are those new companies who enter the market and they completely change the landscape and the business, how it's being run today. And that is what we call radical innovation. And that focuses more on the change, and it completely changes something. So one of the most famous examples of this is, of course, is for instance, Uber. Uber has changed the kind of how we transport people from position A to position B in cities, and by doing this, they changed completely the business model. They changed the way the service is ordered. They didn't have any capital tied into the fleet or anything like that. So they completely changed how to build the taxi company of today. And by doing that, they managed to disrupt the industry. And unfortunately, a lot of the taxi companies went bankrupt in big cities like New York City, for instance, because of this ride-sharing phenomenon. So that, in a sense, is an example of radical innovation. So I can't see even the slide myself. Well, so the definition of radical innovation is an innovation that destroys or replaces an existing business model. It blows up the existing system or process and replaces it with something entirely new. And I want to emphasize that entirely new aspect of it. And if you look at from the past, I know that this is like for now, like iPod doesn't seem like a radical innovation of today, but when this was first launched by Steve Jobs in 2001, when he famously said that 1,000 songs in your pocket, it was considered quite radically different way of consuming music. Back then, we were still, they didn't invent the MP3 players. They were MP3 players, but the kind of capacity wasn't nowhere near to be this big. And it wasn't only the kind of the physical device. They had the whole ecosystem around that you could buy digital music from the iTunes store, and you could consume it on the go through the iPod. And if you think about that, going from having to carry CD players and CD, which could fit about 20 songs in it, suddenly you had 1,000 songs in your pocket. And I remember how it felt when this was launched, that it was completely radically different way of consuming music, and it liberated liberated a lot of the kind of the consumption from home to the world. But even though if this started as a kind of radical innovation, if you then start looking at it like how did it actually evolve, you start noticing that after this, it was anything but radical innovation. It was very much about incremental innovation, incrementally improving the quality of the product, making it smaller in physical size, growing the memory size of that, bringing different colors, trying to go with the kind of fashion trends. So they incrementally started to improve the system. So there's nothing wrong with being like incremental innovation, but often the kind of market is disrupted with something that is completely different and completely new way of doing it. And if you think about like today's world where we are unfortunately going through a kind of global health crisis, there are like companies who have been like radical in their past and radical in their present as well, who are benefiting from this situation, not intensely, of course, benefiting from the crisis, but indirectly they are actually now starting to kind of benefit from this quite a lot. And one of these companies is Amazon. Amazon has been known to be quite radical in their innovation in many different areas. They've been trying out different kind of models over the time, but it started as a kind of e-commerce play. And if you think about the e-commerce today, when you are forced to stay at home and all the stores are closed, now in Finland where we're living, it hasn't been as severe as in some other countries like UK, for instance, where people are not allowed to go out at all more than 1 hour a day. People are now suddenly forced to actually shop home. So even if the e-commerce was kind of a booming trend already before this, and Amazon was the kind of leader in that space, now if you think about that, everybody is forced to actually order things online, and this is unfortunately killing a lot of the local businesses. The one company that is benefiting from this is Amazon. They are benefiting from it at the moment because they have increase of like business at the moment, but they're also benefiting on the long run because people get used to ordering things online. They kind of try and buy experience. It works there quite well. Another company that is also benefiting from the current situation is Netflix, and Netflix is one of the kind of textbook examples of innovation and how they have been able to disrupt the kind of industries, the entertainment industry over the years. If you think about how Netflix started, it was very much about radical innovation on the business model case. They managed to kill Blockbuster by recognizing that the Blockbusters, 30% of their kind of revenue actually came from the fees that people paid because they returned the DVDs late. Initially what Netflix did was that they removed completely this fee from the people. So you could get the kind of DVDs at home as long as you wanted, but you couldn't get new ones. So by doing that, they managed to kind of kill Blockbuster quite well. After that, and I remember at this time, and service was like rental service through mail, and over the years they have like constantly been innovating and beating the kind of radical innovators in their space, going from the streaming, being one of the first ones there, then going to kind of original content, and everybody else has been trying to follow and try to react to Netflix's innovation. And Netflix is also one of these companies who's now really benefiting from this situation, because suddenly people have to stay at home. You can't go to the movie theater. You can't go to a lot of the different entertainment places where you went before this crisis. So what people do is that they subscribe to different online services, and Netflix is one of those which is benefiting. There are also other ones that are benefiting, but Netflix clearly is one of those. And then the third one, which is not necessarily as obvious as the others, but maybe even more telling and where we can learn even more is Tesla. Tesla, of course, has been quite radical in their thinking quite some time. They have a vision of like electrifying the kind of car industry as a whole and save the planet by doing that. And they've been all the time willing to kind of go to the areas where nobody else is going in terms of electric vehicles, but also like autonomous vehicles. And even in this crisis, if you look at the car industry as a whole, they are suffering tremendously. But this indirectly is actually benefiting Tesla because what's happening right now is that a lot of the big car manufacturers are actually killing all the like R&D projects around autonomous vehicles and even electric vehicles. Even though that everybody knows that electric vehicles is the future, still a lot of the kind of companies are now forced to kind of cut back on R&D expenses. But what Tesla is doing and what Elon Musk is saying that they are not slowing down, they are actually accelerating their innovation, and they are like building more factories to cater to the growing needs. So after this crisis goes past, Tesla will actually emerge out of this even stronger than it was before going to this crisis. Their share of like electric vehicles is growing, and the competition is going to fall even further behind. So often, like, if you also look at like from the 2008, 2009 financial crisis, there are like a lot of studies done that which were the companies that really emerged out of this as winners, and the one common denominator there is that the ones who kept innovating and kept thinking about new ways of doing instead of just trying to kind of cut costs on and being really lean. Those were the ones who have actually succeeded the best after the crisis. But yeah, this was my kind of framing for the like why kind of radical and disruptive innovation is relevant in this context. And then let's now move on to the panel discussion, where we have three fantastic guests. So we are really honored to have three distinguished guests joining us to share their views on innovation and how they are applying it to their business today. Please let me introduce to our guests. So first we have Anni Tuominen, a disruptor of healthcare and a partner at Heltti. Welcome, Anni.
Thank you.
Good. Next we have Ari-Pekka Hietala, head of services at iLOQ. Welcome, AP. AP, you are muted, so you probably need to. Yeah, we just before this, we were discussing that this is like for all of us, this is the first panel discussion that we are doing virtually. So
okay.
Welcome, AP.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah. And then last but not least, we have Akseli Herlevi, owner of Naughty Burger. Welcome, Akseli.
Thank you.
Let's start with you, Akseli. Can you please introduce yourself and Naughty Burger as a company, and how are you disrupting the market today?
Yeah, my name is Akseli Herlevi. I'm the part owner and founder of Naughty Burger restaurant company. I'm not sure if restaurant can be very disruptive in the first place, but we have tried to do some things differently. We have now 7 restaurants, and 8th restaurant is opening tomorrow. And we also have retail products in, I don't know, maybe 1,000 stores. So components that you can cook your own burger at home. We also innovated kind of ready meal, kind of burger kit that you can warm it up in a microwave or oven during the health crisis. Now it's piloting in, I don't know, 10 stores or something. And also media is one of our cornerstones as well. We have done a Burger Man TV show for 2 years now, and also try to keep very close contact with the media and kind of help the gained audience or gained media to promote our stuff. So that's our perspective.
Yeah, it's quite remarkable in this situation where a lot of the restaurants unfortunately are forced to shut down, at least for time being. You guys are managing to open up new restaurants, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Next, Anni, like, how about you? Like, how is your Heltti working on this environment, and why are you guys prepared for this more than other companies typically?
Yes. So hello, I'm Anni Tuominen and responsible of customers in Heltti, and I've been working in the company since almost the beginning. And well, Heltti is offering occupational healthcare and well-being services mostly to knowledge worker companies such as Digitalist and Solita, Vincit, Go4, Tori.fi. So mostly to companies who are digital by themselves and who are investing in employees and culture and good workplace. And we have this different kind of, or we have had a radical disruptive business model since the beginning. And we have been working with fixed fee, which means that we don't get our money on lab tests or appointments. We get our money if people are healthy and feeling good, such as which means in occupational healthcare, for example, preventing burnouts is really a big goal for us. So mostly the preventive healthcare services are where we focus on, and also digital services. So normally we have worked 75% remotely, but in this Corona crisis, actually 95% remotely, our services provided. So in healthcare sector, that is really disruptive.
Yeah, no, we are quite recent customer of yours, and I remember when Stephanie Brandt, our head of EX, introduced you guys to us. It was like right spot on to our kind of environment. It felt like your company is created for today's needs, which very much is not about just like the physical healthcare, but it's also kind of the mental side of it as well. So really happy to have you here to share your stories. AP, iLOQ was established of an innovative idea as a starting point. Can you tell a little bit about that and introduce yourself as well?
Okay. Yeah. So hello all. I'm AP, Ari-Pekka from iLOQ, head of services, and I've been working in iLOQ only 1 year, a bit more, but in the industry a bit longer. So I know something about that. But yeah, we are in the locking industry. We are a tech company founded in 2003. And according to our strategy also, we are thought leader. So we want to show the way. And what we do, we basically change traditional mechanical locks to digital access management systems. And iLOQ have patented and introduced world's first self-powered digital locking system. And after that, like 10 years after that, we introduced also NFC-powered mobile access system. So we kind of shaped the industry a few times already, and we want to do it again.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned that you are a tech company in a locking industry, if one might say. There are like, Tesla is also like Elon Musk is saying that they are not really a car company, they are also a tech company, and then there are a lot of other kind of market disruptors who also have used technology as a way to like disrupt the market and behave very much like technology companies rather than the industry companies. Good. Well, hey Akseli, let's start the discussion on innovation and its important. Why is it important in today's world?
Well, I think our customers always want new things. I guess the industry is more like kind of sensational industry. Of course, we try to tackle the people's basic needs, which is hunger. But I think in our company, we are not selling calories. We are more like trying to sell something a bit more, maybe some kind of good feelings and kind of stories and those kinds of things. We want to be a kind of restaurant that people like to come there. They see different things and they can feel quite good over there. The first idea was to build a restaurant that people from Finland can come inside the restaurant and feel not to be in Finland. And then when you add a great burger to that, I think that's the winning concept. But at the same time, when people want to try new things, that drives us to innovate new products. A lot of customers always wants to choose the same product, which is kind of the opposite, maybe some sort of anchor of safety or whatever. But yeah, in food industry, it's very easy to innovate because eventually it's just food. It's very fast to innovate new products. It's very fast to test how people like it, and it's not very expensive. So we are doing that constantly. Almost every day when we are working, we are trying something new because it's so easy, and then just build up. But if we want to do something more like structural kind of innovations, of course they take more time, but basically basic innovation work is very easy for us.
Yeah. I like the fact that I never actually thought about it, that in food industry it's easy to experiment on new things. We are very much in kind of advocates of like experimental approaches on service creation and business as well. How is it, like Anni, how is Heltti experimenting the future or innovating and as a whole?
Well, mostly we are working together with our customers who are by themselves already very innovative, and they are asking us to be innovative as well, and that's how we develop new services. When our customers, for example, 2 weeks ago we started a cooperation with tech organization, and they wanted to provide to 70,000 members of them an easy access to psychologist services because of the corona crisis has brought them a mental problems. And so they, in addition to the services, for example, in law, they want to offer services for psychologists. So that's one innovation that came directly from customers. And I believe that in this kind of crisis, like corona crisis is today, the companies who can react fast and who can listen to their customers and innovate new services or products, they are the winners in the crisis.
Yeah, there is, I don't know, remember who said it, but there is this quote that the ones who adapt fastest are the ones who actually win the market. The change is gonna happen always, and sometimes it's faster to change and sometimes slower, but like the organizations who embrace the change and can change quickly, those are the ones that will win the tomorrow's business. What are the Baape, like how are you guys innovating in the today's, and has this current situation caused you guys to change anything in your business, which is a bit different?
Yeah, thanks. I would say that these times kind of uncertainty, it's a new normal, and it can also be kind of threat, but also opportunity. So, and we know technology is changing very fast. So how we live, how we work, things like that. And we see, for example, digitalization spreading like a virus, and more companies also entering the markets. So I looked some statistic that was 2015. So 50 million new companies were founded. So basically globally, if you calculate, it's about 137,000 per month. So there are new companies coming all the time, new technologies, digitalization, whatever. So it's not enough if we are kind of shaping or changing the game. We also have values like change the game, but there's so much happening all the time that we have to be aware and look from different angles. So of course, customers are very important, how to develop with them. They are the key for us. But also we have to look at trends and, for example, what startups are doing, and where for example, capital is investing, and all kind of things that what is going on. That's the game. And now we have a kind of plan to figure out radical innovations, new service innovations, and then working with the tools and methods that how to do that fast. So also the speed and kind of maybe cheap way to do it is the core here.
Yeah, it's an interesting point that you said that so many, I didn't know that so many companies are established almost like not every day. But like the benefit of if you start a new company, that's of course there's like challenges that you don't have like existing customer base or anything like that, and you are maybe like financially limited. But the benefit of that is that you are building the company for today's kind of like, requirements, and you don't have any like historical package that you are carrying with you. So, and that is for the kind of established companies. That's the challenge. Like how do keep innovating and keep being like relevant today and tomorrow rather than reflect on what we have been doing in the past. But if you look at the past a bit, I'm curious about Anni, about Heltti, because Heltti, when Heltti was established, what was the mission that you set out to do in this healthcare space? Because you clearly from the get-go you've been quite different.
So Heltti was established 2013. And we again started by asking customers or potential customers at that point. So we interviewed, we did a large interview to top 50 decision makers in the industry. So HR and leaders or managers and CEOs of knowledge worker companies. And we asked them like, how should occupational healthcare work and how is it working now and why should it be different? So asked a lot of questions and by that we had already the framework in mind, what should be done differently. And of course the founders had been working already in healthcare sector and also disrupting different markets before. So I think that was a good mix to start doing things differently. So and then also we had 50 potential customers already waiting after we launched the service to sell it to. But and I think the beginning was really fast. It was really fast to grow because of the new business model, radical business model. But and now it's still growing fast, but not of course that fast than in the beginning.
Yeah. What about Akseli? Like, what was you already touched about the connect story a bit on, but like the beginning of it, like, did you already had it like? Were you thinking that you guys are going to be different in the restaurant industry in the beginning?
Well, I think basic idea was that I felt that there might be kind of a place to play, a place to work in a price-wise. A lot of restaurants were selling burger meals for maybe from 1 to 8 euros maximum, and then maybe from 20 to 25 euros and more. So I think there was a place in between. I thought that it would be possibly to make a great burger with 10 euros and kind of be over there. And we were not the first in the fast casual segment over there, but the timing was right, I guess. So and people love it.
Yeah.
And we are still existing and still growing. So I think the fast casual segment is the fastest growing segment in the food industry in the world and in the US as well. So people want to have better kind of experiences with meals and faster, but still they want to know where the meat is come from, who baked the bread and stuff like that. So it's not too industrialized, but it's not too fancy either. So
yeah.
That's the fast casual.
Yeah, and you mentioned like earlier that you are now expanding to different channels. So you have like you can buy Noli burger ingredients at the grocery store and then cook it yourself. Like, is this like how does this like same fast casual, does it like carry on to the like different channels as well?
Well, yeah, but we needed the media as well. So we kind of needed the retail to fund the media. We need the media to gain the sales in the retail. But I guess that didn't happen in the first place. But maybe after 2 years of running the business, we had just realized that we couldn't open a restaurant in very small towns because we just don't have enough customer base over there. So how would the customers get the best possible burger experience anywhere in the country? So,
yeah.
And then there's a lot of places in Finland that people just don't go to restaurants. Never. Maybe if there's a Mother's Day, they might go to the gas station to have a meal or something like that. So, well, those kind of locations, the burgers that you can cook by yourself was the only option, actually.
Yeah. I grew up in a small city up in Lapland, and like if I now go to visit my parents, there is like the restaurant options are really, really limited. So it's not even that you don't want to go, but there isn't those options to go there. So we are quite fortunate in the capital area and in the bigger cities to have like different different options, but in the smaller cities there isn't that much options. Aape, like iLOQ was established quite immediately on top of the innovation. So what was the kind of the thinking in the beginning? Was it like immediately that you guys recognized that that you need to change completely how the kind of locking industry is working, or what was the kind of beginning part of the iLOQ story?
Yeah. I need to mention Mika Pukari, the founder of the company. So 2003, he kind of had own locksmith company working in Oulu. So he has seen the industry quite a long time, and then started to think, because the world is kind of going to digitalization and things go to cloud, maybe not cloud at that point, but anyway, a lot more digitalization type of ideas. And then the locking industry was like 100-year-old innovation that people still are using, and started to think that what if we can do it digitally, because there's so many problems with the mechanical keys that can be copied and you don't know who use it, and expensive rekeying, whatever. So if you can do it digitally but make it cheap, so then they started to innovate and try to find a way that, for example, you need in a digital system, basically you need batteries or electricity. So that was also one thing that, okay, how to do it, kind of energy harvesting type of way. And they were able to develop the product after a couple of rounds, and then they set up the company, and the kind of rest is history.
Yeah, it's really remarkable on like how they like, especially that the fact that your product doesn't require batteries, that opens up like completely different kind of like usage possibilities on like remote, like having locks, like for instance in your cabin or somewhere where you can use that and not have to rely on that it has to have electricity to actually to function. So
yeah,
great. So Akseli, like you mentioned that you're going to open up a new restaurant tomorrow, and in this situation where all the other restaurants are, well, not all, but like many restaurants are like more like ramping down and trying to figure out ways to just to survive. What gives you the kind of courage to boldly just continue the path that you have had before and keep growing and growing your business?
During this health crisis, a lot of restaurants were closing and locking down, and we also put more than half of our staff to away from the work, just to see, because we didn't know at the beginning that how long this will take or how big the impact will be. And we quite fast we saw that maybe just 50% of our sales went down. All the sales we now have very, very low margin because of those third-party delivering companies, but that might be the key to help us kind of survive through this. I don't know, but of course those restaurant investments where they are long-run investments, and we first, when the COVID hit us, we decided to not open those restaurants, but then quite fast we thought the opposite way, because everybody was closing down. So we thought that this could be for us a good moment to open up, because people still, they are walking on the city, of course, in the parks. They want to have the flavors and stuff like that. So we thought it's more like the perspective that gives the freedom to be proactive and force our competitors to kind of reactive base. So we are in the kind of, I don't know if it's correctly said, but kind of in a mental high ground. We are making the decisions, what we want and where we want, and then our competitors just need to react on those decisions. So I think it's more like perspective of freedom.
Yeah. Okay. What about Anni? Like you have been from the get-go quite different. What gave you the courage?
Well, I think one of Heltti's value is pokka, which means kind of a courage or bravery. And when we also recruit new people, we have to find doctors or nurses who have enough courage or pokka to do things differently and make mistakes and learn. So I think when you're disrupting, you have to have the courage, and you have to kind of be sometimes shamed of the services or products that you're selling to customers, because you're not sure how to do them yet. But maybe that is how to actually innovate.
So fake it till you make it.
Yep.
Pros and certain things. There's a nice story that I just recently heard that Thomas Edison, the kind of founder of who invented the electric lamp, actually for the first 4 years, he claimed that he had invented it, but it didn't really work. He just kept like faking it till he made it after 4 years. But he was pretty much lying for the first 4 years that he had invented the electric lamp. So having kind of courage and strong belief that this is something that we definitely can succeed on is important in innovation as well. Because it's a lot about leap of faith as well. It's like you jump onto the unknown. Okay. Aape, like how are you guys working with customers in the innovation process? And
okay, yeah, most important thing, customers for us, and maybe as earlier already said that we kind of try to understand them, listen them, and work them every day. So we have a lot of salespeople around Europe, 8 countries where we are located, salespeople talking them basically every day. And we got some ideas also from there, but typically, as you described in the beginning, those incremental innovations, so they are pretty much that type of innovation. So small improvements there, and some kind of for example, user interfaces, can you add this or that? But it's incremental type of thing. But then if you try to look at those bigger, maybe radical innovations, so then the customers are more like test bed for us. So we might find the idea, of course, from the customer third party, but typically we try to innovate inside, and then we go back to the customers and we try to test it fast. And quite often we don't even tell those ideas. For example, some service innovations that we are now doing. So we first go to the customers, we try to validate the need so that there's really a problem that we need to solve. And they are also willing to pay for it. And if that is not happening, so then it's not a case. So we try to get that first, and then we need to also scale, because it's not enough if it's only in Finland. So we need to get a couple of other countries do the same. And there might be, of course, some problems because we don't have a similar kind of skill set or people in every country. But anyway, when that is done with the customers, of course, then we go to the management group and say that, okay, here's the case. Should we go forward? And then, of course, during the development cycles, we also work with the customers again. So they are improving whatever comes out then.
Yeah. Okay. Akseli, you mentioned that you do a lot of experiments with actual customers. So you try it. Can you talk a little bit about like how is customers involved in the kind of those experiments?
Sometimes the customers just give us a feedback that they would like to have certain items on the menu of certain products, or sometimes we just ask them. It's a good way to promote our business, to ask them what kind of whatever they answer, because we usually know the answers, but we still ask. But then there's like what happened a couple years back, that we asked the customers that what would you like to have with your burger on the side orders. And people say that, yeah, we'd like to have some fresh vegetables, maybe some veggie sticks and some dip sauce, stuff like that. So we made it, but there was zero sales of those. So we understood that even though they would like to eat healthy, but when they had decided to have burger, they won't decide to side order healthy. But we just ask the customers what they want. Sometimes we just test them and just give them kind of taste bites when they are waiting for their food or stuff like that. So
it's an interesting point that like if you ask from the customers, or if you try to understand their needs, it's quite easy to get false positives. Like people are quite eager, especially if we ask from them that like, would you like to be more healthier? They're going to say that yes, I would like to be more healthier. But how many of us are actually making those decisions in the everyday moment? That's another story. Anni, you had like when you guys started, it was like you started with the customer research. Has that continued over the kind of years as well?
Well, I think that's mostly like working together with customers, with big clients. We have this customer well-being coach that we have monthly meetings with customers, and and that's mostly, of course, coaching the customer, but also, of course, learning how could we support the customer. And for example, in this Corona crisis, there have been different kind of needs, like how to support people when they are working remotely and they have maybe families, or they are living alone, they have different kind of problems there. How to actually manage your team remotely, that's also a new kind of challenge for us, and that's where we can coach our customers also. And what is now on top is really getting back to work. How can we get back to work maybe after summer, if there is still the risk of getting coronavirus, and we have to learn new ways of working, and that is where I think we as an occupational healthcare are the main supportive function for companies, how to work safely, and that's also quite stressful. So it will be also a psychological issue to getting back to work without hugging anyone or thinking all the time like how you should behave in the workplace, and that's different what we have used to before. So that those all are customer needs, and we are developing new services based on those needs.
The social distancing and not hugging is like, it comes like a second nature for Finns, so it's
maybe for us it's easier than
for us it's easier. So innovation is culture is quite an important part of the innovation, and having a culture that embraces innovation is really key for the success. Anni, how do you recognize, because you work with a lot of the clients and you see that, like, how do you recognize the kind of culture? Like when you see an innovation culture, where do you recognize it from?
I think mostly it is about this kind of a similar environment that we are working on, making fast decisions, piloting new services, new things, and having the courage also to make decisions and making errors as well. But I would say the fast decision making is the biggest thing, because it's always easier not to make a decision than make one.
Yeah. What about AP? What's your take on it?
Yeah, we have some challenges here because of course our culture is like based on the Mika's startup some time ago, and we are kind of entrepreneurs, so you can feel that culture, that you can throw ideas, you can test ideas, so it's very easy, and the kind of hierarchy is quite low. But so far we have been very good in R&D type of innovations, and they have a clear processes and so. But then other type of innovations, we still need to polish that and develop that part. And maybe not big change, I would say, but some kind of understanding for the management also, that once we are working with uncertain areas and try to figure out new radical innovations, for example, so the basic kind of, let's say, tools and methods are not very good there, and we a little bit need to work with that area and maybe implement some kind of program that we are now planning also.
Okay. So if you think about like what's preventing innovation from happening, like if we continue with AP, like what are the biggest obstacles for innovation?
The biggest obstacles, I would say that, if maybe leaving kind of innovations out and talk about ideas, for example. So we are not able to make kind of acid test or customer testing quickly and widely enough. So that is something that we can quickly, easily do within Finland. But as said, we need to scale also in the end. So it's not enough if it's okay in Finland. So that is preventing us, or let's say not maybe preventing, but slowing us a little bit down. So get the other countries also. So because we don't have that kind of organization, so we have basically sales organization around there. And then currently we are missing those innovator methods that we could kind of sell to the C-level management that, hey, this is the way we should work. And it's more like a project at the moment. So once you go and say that, hey, there's the kind of innovation we should look at, and of course before that we have the kind of validated business case and problem case with customers, but then the idea will pop up somewhere in the roadmap, and people, of course, C-level guys, they start to follow that. So you need to report how it is going, and there are some issues we still need to develop.
Yeah. What about Akseli? You mentioned a lot about like it's easy to kind of try out different things, but in your business, what are the obstacles of you innovating faster? And
well, I think biggest thing might be that sometimes people tend to focus on safety and they're not willing to take the risks. And I think that's the biggest one reason. There might be when succeeding with new ideas, that somebody within the organization is not 100% pro that idea. Well, you don't have to be 100%, but maybe 70% will be enough. But
yeah,
many times people will say, this is not going to work, this is not a good idea. Well, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that mindset of like it's so easy to kind of keep going on that path where you are heading instead of like trying out new things. The new things are always the kind of scary things. What about Anni? What's your viewpoint on this?
Well, I would say that they are internal processes. When companies are growing, it usually gets more complicated, and it's harder to keep up with the startup mindset and the startup way of trying new things fast, and everything becomes a bit more slow when the companies grow. There are more decision makers or more opinions, as also others said in this discussion. So it's when the companies grow, I think that's the biggest obstacle for succeeding.
Yeah, and that's why often the bigger the organization, the more vulnerable it is for disruption over time. It's so easy to stay complacent and not change. And human nature is we are not really embracing to change because it's risky and it feels like Akseli said, it doesn't feel safe to kind of try out new things. So if we continue, Anni, with you, like what is the kind of hardest thing for you as a kind of catalyst of innovation in your organization? How do you make others to kind of innovate around you?
Well, sometimes I think maybe the lack of resources can be something like that. For example, we have our own technology team and we have a lot of innovations and ideas what should be done. Customers have brought some ideas, but also our employees have ideas how to make the processes work faster. And if the employees talk more than the customers do, which is usual when they're working in the same company, they might win in their opinion, and I'm the one who is fighting for the customer's voice, and that sometimes feels like an internal fight, like who gets the resources. But luckily now we got 2 new members for our technology team, and I'm really excited about bringing my things forward. So bringing the voice of customers forward.
Yeah. What about Abe? What is the most difficult thing for you?
Yeah, sounds similar also what Anni said. Resources are one thing, and of course we have a lot of competing projects all the time, and then how to do the prioritization, and especially those innovations that are very uncertain in the beginning. So how to get resources for those compared to the kind of other things that are already almost on the pipeline. And of course, one thing is that we can kind of use external resources, and then it's also a money issue. Even we are growing and we are growing for a profitable way, but still it's also, if you think that you grow fast and you make profit all the time, so why to develop something radical or something like that? So we also need a little bit mindset that it's still important to look around and try to find those new things. So it's, that's one thing. And then also the kind of methodologies that we need to sell, how to work with the innovations in early phases.
Okay. Akseli, bonus question for you. Like if you think about 5 years ahead of it, from now, 5 years from now, hopefully the coronavirus thing is past us and the world has changed. How do you see like your industry and your company? What's the kind of the future like in 5 years' time?
Well, I think in 5 years we are a technology company that sells food with kind of 100% data-driven decision making, and kind of everything is based on data. And I don't know, within 5 years that does people behavior change, but I feel that people will do less work in the future. So we need to focus on that in restaurants. After COVID, it might be very typical that these kinds of meetings and days that our customers are at home working from there will affect the restaurant industry heavily. And we need to focus on deliveries and takeaways more than before, even though that was growing before COVID, but I think just exploded now. Okay. I think we are a technology company in 5 years.
That's exciting to hear that. Anni, what about you? Like, how is Heltti gonna?
I think we are more like what we already are, but in 5 years, a bit more like a platform company for health services. So for some services we might produce ourselves, but most of the services are provided by our partners. So more like a Uber-like business model, where we have of course the data and the knowledge of our clients and their needs, and then we just find the best specialist or psychologist or whoever is there to help, or the best service provider to help our clients.
Okay. And Ape, iLOQ in 5 years.
Yeah, the kind of simple answer is that Duty Capital bought us about half a year ago. So you know those companies, they typically own you for 5, 6 years, and then it's an exit. And one thing here is that, of course, in the exit, the value of the company depends also on the innovations that we have. If we have been able to, we can have a portfolio having the innovations, but also implemented those. So one kind of driver is also from the innovation side to drive them and increase our value in time of exit. But as Anni said, I think also in our industry, even though we digitalize the logging systems and we talk about access management now, but more and more we go to the cloud side, we will see platforms and we will see more integrations, that different kind of systems are integrating together, and keys are just one thing that is traveling in the digital world, changing the ownerships and over the air type of thing. So yes, platform, I see that.
Great. So as a final question, what would be the kind of the main message that you would want our kind of audience to take from this discussion, and from your experience and history? What would you like them to kind of take into their organizations? And Akseli, let's start with you.
Well, I think that perspective, be proactive. So be offensive and be proactive, and make the first call and trust everything will go just fine.
Yeah, great, thanks. Anni.
Well, I would say that this corona crisis, or crisis in general, they have a lot of potential. So don't lose that potential, and don't go hidden and do nothing. So the big players in the market are now in troubles, and they are having layoffs and financial problems. So now it's time to fight and win the fight. So now it's time to even launch the new services, or open the new restaurants, or recruit, double your technology team, or focus on the digitalization and the potential that is the future.
Yeah, that's a great message. Ape, what about you?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So now it's time to act, and I would say also that kind of renew your ways of working. Forget all kind of business plans in advance. Do customer experiences fast and work with them. So take risk, go there and do it.
Yeah, great. Hey, thank you all, and a really interesting discussion. I'm sure that our audience got a lot of ideas from this discussion. So thank you all for joining today, and thank you for the people online listening as well. And we'll end the meeting of the webinar now. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.